Hey there, Scorpios. If you're born in October, or you know someone who is, this video is absolutely for you. June is coming, and trust me, it's going to be intense. In fact, I'm talking about an emotional war. Sounds dramatic, right? But it's not just about a few difficult days or tough decisions. This month could feel like you're facing a battle within yourself and in your relationships. The kind of battle that forces you to confront your deepest fears, your past wounds, and perhaps even your biggest insecurities. But don't worry, this isn't all bad news. In fact, there's so much growth to be found in these emotional challenges. The question is, how can you navigate this storm and come out stronger? And more importantly, what can you do to turn this emotional war into a chance for personal transformation? Stick with me, because I'm about to take you through what's really happening astrologically, and how it'll affect your mind, emotions, and even your relationships. We'll also dive into some tips and strategies on how to handle all this energy, making sure you come out of June more empowered, more self-aware, and ready for what lies ahead. This is going to be deep, Scorpio, so make sure you stay tuned until the end. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like this video, and share it with your fellow Scorpios. You won't want to miss out on this journey through the stars. For Scorpios born in October, June isn't just another month on the calendar, it's a time when emotions rise to the surface, and the intensity of life reaches new heights. You may feel as if you're walking through a storm, battling both the inner demons that you thought were long forgotten and external forces that seem to challenge your every move. But before you panic, let's take a step back and look at why June is so significant for Scorpios. Particularly for those born in October. Scorpios are often seen as mysterious, intense, and even a bit enigmatic, but underneath all that strength lies a well of emotions so deep that they sometimes feel as though they're drowning in them. You might find yourself asking the big questions about life and your purpose, feeling more introspective than usual, or revisiting old relationships that once seemed easy to forget. It's as if June taps into that hidden emotional undercurrent and suddenly, everything that you thought was buried comes rushing to the surface. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, though. Think of it as a wake-up call from the universe. You're being called to confront those parts of yourself that you've pushed away for too long, emotions, memories, and unresolved issues. And yes, this can be uncomfortable. But what if, just what if, this emotional storm is exactly what you need to unlock a deeper understanding of who you really are and where you're headed in life? Consider this: have you ever gone through a difficult time, one that you thought you couldn't handle, only to realize later on that it was the key to your personal growth? That moment when you come out of the fog stronger, wiser, and with a clearer sense of purpose? Well, this June, you might experience something similar. You might not understand it at first, but when you look back, you'll see that these emotional trials were the very things that helped you transform. But here's where it gets tricky. Pluto, Scorpio's ruling planet, is known for its power of transformation. When Pluto decides it's time for a change, it doesn't do so gently. This planet doesn't believe in gradual shifts. Instead, it demands that you tear down the old in order to make room for the new. June will feel like you're facing a crossroads, a moment where everything you've built or held onto will be tested. And for October-born Scorpios, this could mean confronting the things that you've avoided for far too long, whether it's a toxic relationship, a career path that no longer serves you, or an emotional wound you thought was healed. Now, I know what you're probably thinking: how am I supposed to handle all this emotional chaos? The truth is, it's not going to be easy. But this is exactly why Scorpios are so powerful. You have the ability to not only survive these intense moments, but to thrive through them. This is where you draw on your strength, your resilience, and your unparalleled ability to regenerate. When life knocks you down, you rise again, stronger, better, and with a deeper sense of self. But there's a catch: you have to be willing to let go of what's holding you back, even if it's painful. So, how do you handle all of this without losing yourself in the process? It all starts with trusting yourself. That deep inner knowing you have, as Scorpios are known for their sharp intuition, will be your guiding light through the storm. But here's a piece of advice: don't let your emotions cloud your judgment. Yes, the emotional tide is rising, but it's also a time to lean into the calmness within you. Try to create moments of stillness, even if it's just for a few minutes each day. Meditation, journaling, or simply taking a quiet walk outside can work wonders when everything around you feels chaotic. But here's the thing: this emotional turbulence isn't going to last forever. In fact, by the time you reach the end of June, you'll start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. The intense emotions that have surfaced will gradually begin to subside, and you'll find yourself in a much clearer, more grounded place. But you have to go through the storm first, and the storm will test your resolve. Don't be surprised if you feel moments of doubt or even self-sabotage creeping in. It's during these moments that you need to remind yourself that this is part of the process of transformation. This is Pluto at work, and it doesn't come gently. Scorpios born in October are deeply introspective and sensitive, which means that during this emotional war, you might find yourself revisiting past relationships and unresolved conflicts. Sometimes, the emotional storm in June isn't just about personal growth. It's about cleaning up the mess left behind by others. You may feel like you've already moved on from certain people or situations, but the energy from those past connections might still linger. June will force you to address this head-on, even if it feels uncomfortable. But trust me on this one, confronting these lingering issues will bring you much-needed closure. It's a healing process, even though it may feel like a battle at times. What can you do during this time? Well, here's a practical tip that works wonders for Scorpios: start small. You don't have to solve everything at once. If a particular relationship or situation is weighing you down, start by acknowledging it. Write down your thoughts and feelings, and then take a step back. Look at the situation from a different perspective. What can you learn from it? What do you need to release in order to move forward? This is where Scorpio's true power lies, in your ability to face the dark and transform it into something beautiful. Yes, it might feel like you're walking through an emotional war zone, but remember, the most beautiful flowers often grow from the toughest soil. June might feel overwhelming, but it's also a chance to shed your old skin and emerge as a stronger, more authentic version of yourself. Now, let's talk about Venus retrograde. You've probably heard of it before, but for Scorpios born in October, it will have a particularly powerful effect. Venus, the planet of love and relationships, will urge you to reflect on your connections with others, especially romantic partners and close friends. In fact, you might find yourself revisiting past relationships that you thought were long over. Maybe an old flame will resurface, or perhaps a friendship that ended abruptly will come up for review. During this time, you'll be asked to look at these relationships not through the lens of nostalgia, but through the lens of growth and healing. This doesn't mean you should jump back into anything that doesn't feel right, but it's an opportunity to learn from your past mistakes and see how far you've come. Take this as a chance to heal old wounds, and if you find that a relationship is no longer serving you, don't be afraid to let go. The universe is nudging you in the direction of personal evolution. And sometimes, that means releasing people or situations that are holding you back. As you work through these emotional challenges, remember to be kind to yourself. Scorpios are often their own harshest critics, and you may find yourself being overly self-critical during this time. If you catch yourself spiraling into negative thoughts or doubts, take a deep breath and remind yourself that you're doing the best you can. Allow yourself the grace to make mistakes, to feel hurt, and to learn from it. You are not defined by your struggles, but by how you rise from them. As June unfolds, you'll feel a shift. What felt chaotic at the start will begin to make sense, and you'll start to see the patterns. The emotional war you've fought within yourself will transform into a powerful source of strength. By the end of the month, you'll not only have faced your inner demons, but you'll also be ready to take on whatever challenges life throws your way. And trust me, you'll be stronger for it. So, hold on tight, Scorpio. The storm may be intense, but it's temporary. This is the moment of transformation you've been waiting for. Stay tuned, because what's coming next could change everything for you. As June unfolds, Scorpios born in October will find themselves standing at a crossroads. You may not have asked for this emotional roller coaster, but here it is, an invitation to not only confront your past but to dive deep into the very essence of who you are. The truth is, June will bring out your deepest fears, your most painful insecurities, and your long-buried emotions. But don't be scared, because this emotional battle is not your enemy. It's your greatest ally, pushing you to grow and evolve in ways you never thought possible. If you've ever faced a situation that felt like the universe was testing you to your core, you know that Scorpios thrive under pressure. And June is going to put that resilience to the test in ways you might not expect. It may feel like the universe is challenging you from every angle: relationships, work, even your own inner dialogue. But what if this pressure is exactly what you need to shed old patterns that have been holding you back for far too long? Consider this: have you ever been in a relationship that felt draining, toxic, or just simply not right, yet you stayed in it because you were afraid of change? June is the time when those kinds of relationships will become too loud to ignore. The emotional turmoil you're feeling is a call to action, asking you to look at the things and people that no longer serve your highest good. The more you resist, the more painful this process will be. But if you lean into the discomfort and embrace the changes happening around you, the clarity you seek will come. You may not see it immediately, but by the end of June, you'll look back and realize that these emotional battles have led you to a stronger, more authentic version of yourself. One of the most significant challenges for Scorpios in June will be the conflict between the desire for transformation and the fear of the unknown. You know, Scorpios are often portrayed as being fearless. But let's be real for a moment: no one enjoys stepping into the unknown. We all have those moments where we're faced with big decisions, unsure of what the future holds, and paralyzed by the fear of making the wrong choice. But here's the thing: you don't need to have everything figured out right now. Sometimes, the biggest act of bravery is to take that first step into uncertainty, knowing that the journey ahead will shape you into someone stronger. Even if you're unsure, trust that the steps you're taking are leading you exactly where you need to go. The intensity of June will demand that you learn how to balance your internal world with the external world. For Scorpios born in October, this might feel like walking a tightrope between your emotions and your actions. There's a natural inclination to withdraw and protect your emotional energy when things get overwhelming. But while retreating may provide some temporary relief, it can also prevent you from experiencing the growth that's waiting for you on the other side of your fears. Here's where a bit of practicality comes in. Set small, achievable goals for yourself each day, whether it's reaching out to a friend you've been avoiding or finally addressing a conflict that's been simmering under the surface. These small steps will add up over time, helping you break through the emotional fog that often surrounds you during times of uncertainty. And let's not forget about the relationships that are under the microscope during this time. If you've been feeling disconnected from people, whether it's friends, family, or romantic partners, June will urge you to dig deeper into why that disconnection exists. The thing with Scorpios is that, while we value deep, meaningful relationships, we also tend to build emotional walls. This is the month where those walls will be tested. You might feel the pull to isolate yourself, to retreat into your inner world and shut out the noise. But in reality, this is the perfect time to reconnect with others on a deeper level. It's about showing vulnerability, something Scorpios tend to shy away from. When you allow yourself to open up to the people you trust, you'll discover a new kind of intimacy and emotional safety that will help you navigate the rest of June's challenges. You might be wondering, how do you find the balance between staying true to yourself and opening up to others? The answer is simple, yet not always easy: vulnerability. Opening up isn't about sharing every thought, every feeling, or every fear you have. It's about recognizing that being vulnerable is a strength, not a weakness. By letting others in, you create space for authentic connection and trust to develop. And trust, my Scorpio friends, is essential to surviving this emotional war you're about to face. It's not just about trusting others, it's about trusting yourself and your ability to navigate the emotional turbulence that June brings. During this time, you may also notice that old wounds from the past begin to resurface. These are the kinds of wounds you thought were long healed, but they are rising to the surface for a reason. Maybe it's a past betrayal that you thought you had moved on from, or perhaps an unresolved family issue that you've pushed aside. June isn't just about confronting external challenges. It's also about looking inward and healing those old emotional scars. The universe is calling you to face these wounds with compassion, not just for others, but for yourself. It's about letting go of the stories you've told yourself about what happened and seeing the situation from a new perspective. Healing comes when we stop blaming ourselves or others for past pain, and instead, choose to learn from it and release it. As Pluto continues its influence over your sign, pushing you to grow and evolve, remember that transformation isn't always a smooth ride. There will be moments of discomfort, moments when you'll want to give up and return to old habits. But these are the moments that matter the most. The way you handle these challenges will define the rest of your journey. Don't let fear dictate your actions. Instead, let your inner strength guide you, knowing that every challenge you face is an opportunity to shed the old layers of yourself and emerge stronger, wiser, and more aligned with who you truly are. For those of you struggling with relationships during this emotional war, remember this: not all relationships are meant to last forever. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is let go. This might be the most difficult part of June, saying goodbye to someone or something that you thought would always be part of your life. But sometimes, letting go is the most empowering thing you can do for yourself. Trust that the universe has a way of guiding you to what you need, and sometimes, that means releasing what no longer aligns with your higher purpose. As you journey through this emotional landscape, take note of how you're feeling day by day. Pay attention to the signs, to the subtle shifts in your energy, and to the people who show up in your life. These are the clues that will help you navigate the rest of June with grace and purpose. The key is not to resist the emotional waves, but to ride them with courage and a sense of trust in yourself. You are more powerful than you realize, Scorpio. And though June may be an emotional war, it's one that will lead to profound growth and transformation. By the end of this month, you may find yourself in a place of peace and clarity that you haven't experienced in a long time. You'll look back and realize that the emotional turmoil you went through was exactly what you needed to step into your true power. And when that moment comes, remember to take a deep breath and give yourself credit for everything you've overcome. June will pass, but the wisdom you gain from it will stay with you forever. As we continue to explore the emotional journey that awaits October-born Scorpios in June, it becomes evident that this month is not merely a time of introspection but one that will test your resolve and require you to stand in your truth. No matter how uncomfortable it may feel. The emotional war that looms over you isn't about conflict with others, but a deeper, more personal battle, one that forces you to confront your own limitations and, more importantly, your fears. This battle, however, isn't one to fear. It is a call to break through the barriers that have held you back for far too long. One of the most defining qualities of Scorpios is their deep intuition, a sixth sense that can often predict events before they unfold. However, with Pluto's transformative energy surrounding you this month, this powerful gift may become both a blessing and a curse. When you begin to sense the shifts around you, whether in your relationships, your work, or your own inner life, it's easy to feel overwhelmed or trapped by your emotions. The deep intensity you feel can cloud your judgment. And with Venus retrograde adding to the emotional fog, you may find it challenging to trust what you feel. But here's the key: trusting yourself is more crucial than ever. June demands that you surrender to the process. That you trust not just your intuition, but also your ability to adapt and transform as circumstances evolve. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where everything around you seemed uncertain? and your intuition was the only thing you could rely on? It's in these moments that Scorpios shine. When the world is full of noise and confusion, your inner voice will guide you through the storm. But it's important to remember that intuition doesn't always come with a clear-cut answer. It's not about knowing every single detail, but about trusting that the steps you're taking, no matter how small, are leading you towards something greater. When doubt creeps in, step back, breathe, and let your intuition settle within you. This isn't about rushing to conclusions, it's about giving yourself the space to feel and process. Trusting that the answers will reveal themselves in time. June also presents a powerful opportunity to explore the patterns in your relationships, particularly those that have felt strained or disconnected. Venus retrograde urges you to revisit past connections, especially those with people who may have hurt you in the past. This doesn't mean you need to dive into old wounds without care. But it's an invitation to evaluate how you relate to others. Do you hold on to old grudges because you believe they define you? Are there relationships in your life that need healing or closure, but you've been avoiding them out of fear? Venus retrograde isn't just about love, it's about how you give and receive emotional energy, and how that impacts your well-being. During this time, take a moment to reflect on the connections in your life. What have you learned from them? What needs to be released, and what can be nurtured? This is where Scorpio's natural intensity comes into play. While you may feel the urge to shut down emotionally when relationships get difficult, June invites you to lean in instead. This isn't about staying in toxic situations, but rather about gaining the clarity you need to decide what stays and what goes. You might find that some relationships have run their course, and it's time to let go. That's okay. In fact, it's empowering. But for others, this may be a time to rekindle connections that have been left on the back burner. Opening up, being vulnerable, and trusting that those who truly care for you will meet you halfway is one of the most powerful acts of self-love you can perform. Scorpios are fiercely independent. But even you need human connection. June is the month to evaluate those bonds and make necessary changes. Relationships, after all, should be a reflection of mutual respect and understanding, not an emotional battlefield. It's important, however, not to mistake emotional connection for emotional dependence. The energy around you in June will push you to redefine what it means to rely on others. Scorpios are known for their strong sense of self, but there's a difference between being self-reliant and isolating yourself from the support system around you. Remember, being vulnerable is not a sign of weakness. Rather, it's a powerful way to show up for yourself and for those you care about. It's about finding the balance between maintaining your independence while also allowing others to help you when you need it. Emotional wars are best fought with allies, and this June, you might just find that the people who love you are more than willing to stand by your side. On a deeper level, this month also highlights a journey toward healing. The past might come knocking, and old wounds that you've long since buried may surface in the most unexpected of ways. Whether it's through a conversation, a situation, or even a fleeting memory. June will force you to face these shadows. At first, this may seem daunting, but there's incredible power in confronting the things that have caused you pain. Scorpios are deeply introspective by nature. And you have an innate ability to explore your emotional depths. But sometimes, you need a little nudge to dig deeper into the parts of yourself that you've avoided for too long. The pain you feel is not meant to hold you back. It is meant to set you free. Think of it this way, healing isn't a linear process. It doesn't happen all at once, and it doesn't happen in a way that makes logical sense. But as you walk through these emotional fires, remember that the end result is always worth it. There is an opportunity to heal your heart and mind, to shed old layers of self-doubt and fear. What you might find as you explore these old wounds is that you've grown in ways you never imagined. And through this process, you'll emerge stronger, more resilient, and more aligned with the truest version of yourself. Now, it's essential to understand that transformation isn't always a gentle process. Scorpios, especially those born in October, are being called to make big changes, whether that's in their careers, relationships, or even their sense of self. But as the saying goes, sometimes you have to break down before you can break through. It's not always going to be pretty, but trust that it's necessary. When you feel those emotional waves crashing over you, remember that this is the pressure needed to create diamonds. June may bring you to a place of emotional upheaval, but this upheaval is the catalyst for the transformation that is waiting to unfold. Think of a time when you went through something incredibly challenging. Maybe it was a tough breakup, the loss of a job, or a difficult period in your personal life. At the time, it probably felt like the end of the world. But in hindsight, you can now see how that experience pushed you to grow and evolve. You became more resilient, more self-aware, and perhaps even more compassionate as a result of your struggles. That's the beauty of transformation. It doesn't happen without effort, and it doesn't happen without a little discomfort. But it always brings you closer to your truest self. Finally, let's talk about how to stay grounded in the midst of this emotional chaos. Scorpios are naturally inclined to dive deep into their emotions, sometimes to the point of getting lost in them. While it's important to allow yourself to feel, it's also crucial to find ways to stay connected to the present moment. One of the most powerful tools for grounding yourself during this time is mindfulness. Whether it's through meditation, mindful breathing, or even a daily ritual that allows you to reconnect with yourself, grounding practices will help you stay centered as you navigate the emotional waves of June. Another way to stay grounded is by setting small, achievable goals. If you feel overwhelmed by the emotional intensity of the month, break down your challenges into bite-sized pieces. Focus on one thing at a time. This might mean focusing on a single relationship that needs healing, or addressing one area of your life where you feel stuck. By taking one step at a time, you'll find that the pressure you feel begins to ease. Remember, Scorpios, you don't have to do it all at once. Trust the process, and trust that everything you need will unfold in due time. As you navigate June, remember that this emotional journey is leading you somewhere powerful. The transformation you're experiencing may not always make sense in the moment, but by the end of the month, you'll see that it was all necessary. You are not just surviving June, you are evolving, shedding old skins, and stepping into a version of yourself that is more authentic, more powerful, and more aligned with your highest purpose. So, take a deep breath, Scorpio, and embrace the emotional war that's ahead. It's your time to rise. As we approach the end of June, Scorpios born in October will likely experience an undeniable shift in energy. The emotional intensity you've been feeling throughout the month will start to dissipate, revealing a clearer path forward. But before that happens, there are a few more crucial pieces of this emotional puzzle to uncover. By now, you may have already confronted some of the more difficult aspects of your life, the things you've been avoiding or hiding from. The thing is, transformation doesn't come easily, especially when you're forced to dig into the deepest corners of your psyche. But Scorpios, as you know, are born survivors. You have an unparalleled ability to rise from the ashes and rebuild yourself stronger than ever. June might have been the storm, but it's also the necessary force that will drive you to the place of clarity and power you've been craving. One of the most profound aspects of this emotional war is the need to reconcile your inner world with the outer world. For Scorpios, there's always a delicate balance between the need to withdraw and protect your energy and the deep desire to connect with others in a meaningful way. June pushes you to confront this balance head-on. You may feel like retreating into your shell, shutting out the noise and the chaos that surrounds you. But this isn't the time for isolation. In fact, the universe is nudging you to open up and share your emotional world with those who matter most. You've probably been guarding your emotions for a long time, perhaps out of fear of being vulnerable or hurt. But remember, vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness. By allowing yourself to be open with others, whether it's a close friend, family member, or romantic partner, you create the space for deeper, more authentic connections to flourish. You've likely had moments where you felt completely alone in your emotional journey, thinking that no one could possibly understand what you're going through. But what if the relationships you've been holding at arm's length are the very ones that will provide the support and love you need to get through this period? June encourages you to break down the emotional walls you've carefully constructed over the years. It's not about letting everyone in, but it's about allowing yourself to trust the people who have proven they care. Whether it's reconnecting with an old friend or deepening your bond with a partner, now is the time to let others help you. You are not meant to go through this journey alone, Scorpio. The love and support you need are already around you. All you have to do is reach out and embrace it. Another critical theme that will arise in June is the idea of letting go, specifically, letting go of the past and old emotional baggage that no longer serves you. This is a powerful time of release. During this emotional war, you'll have the opportunity to free yourself from the weight of past mistakes, regrets, and toxic relationships. Scorpios tend to hold on to things tightly, sometimes to a fault, because they fear letting go means losing a part of themselves. But in reality, holding on to these old wounds only prevents you from growing. Just think of it like this: when you're holding on to something that's weighing you down, there's no space for new blessings to enter your life. It's time to clear the emotional clutter and make room for something new, something better. This doesn't mean forgetting the past, but it does mean forgiving yourself and others for past hurts, and choosing to move forward with a lighter heart. When you let go, something incredible happens. You allow space for self-love and inner peace. This is where the true transformation lies, Scorpio. It's in the moment you realize that your past doesn't define you. You are not the mistakes you've made or the people who have wronged you. You are a being capable of immense growth, healing, and love. June is the month where you shed the skin of who you used to be and step into the version of yourself that you've always been destined to become. You've been through the fire, and now it's time to rise from the ashes like the phoenix that you are. Your power is in your ability to heal, transform, and regenerate, and June is your reminder that you have everything within you to create the life and relationships you've always wanted. But before you can fully embrace this transformation, it's important to recognize how far you've come. This month has likely brought you to a place where you have gained a deeper understanding of yourself, your fears, your desires, and the ways you show up in the world. June has challenged you to be brutally honest with yourself, and while that hasn't always been easy, it has opened your eyes to areas of your life that need healing. You may have felt raw, exposed, and even vulnerable at times, but in that vulnerability, you've gained strength. Embrace the clarity that comes from this period of self-reflection. Now, it's time to put that clarity into action. As you step into the second half of June, take a moment to celebrate your growth. Think about the emotional battles you've faced and how you've managed to rise above them. This is a time to acknowledge your strength, Scorpio. You've made it through the storm, and while you might not feel completely fixed or perfect, that's not the point. The point is that you've learned, you've healed, and you've grown. And this growth is going to propel you into the next chapter of your life. But as with all things Scorpio, transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, one that requires patience and self-compassion. So, as June winds down, take things one step at a time. Trust that the universe has your back, and that the challenges you've faced are only preparing you for the beautiful things ahead. And remember, Scorpio, you are not alone in this. Even when you feel like you're facing everything on your own, the people who love you are waiting to support you in whatever way they can. This month has been all about emotional growth, transformation, and shedding the old layers of yourself. But as you move forward, take with you the lessons you've learned. Use them to build a life that is aligned with who you truly are. And know this, the emotional war you faced is over. The storm has passed, and you've come out the other side, stronger and more powerful than ever. So, Scorpio, as you embrace the changes ahead, don't forget to give yourself the credit you deserve. You've made it through a difficult time, and the wisdom you've gained will serve you for years to come. This is just the beginning of a beautiful new chapter. If you've found this video helpful and resonated with the message, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends or fellow Scorpios, and subscribe to my channel for more astrological insights. And remember, Scorpio, this is your time. The best is yet to come. Stay zen, stay peaceful, and keep growing. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.